Mysteries and crimes are often solved by hard police work and eyewitness accounts. Very rarely do cases get solved by the perpetrators getting caught or even blatantly confessing on live TV for everyone to see. These cases would be a dream come true for any detective or police officer, as the crimes are solved by themselves without them having to do any work. Our last list of cases solved by TV appearances was such a hit that we thought we'd follow it up with 5 more unsolved mysteries solved by TV appearances. Number 5. Serial shoplifter caught after Come Dine With Me appearance. Sophie Hunter Brown may not seem like much of a criminal at first glance. She's a young and attractive primary school teacher with a specialisation in information and communication technology. She was a big hit with her pupils as well, who constantly praised her and said they loved her lessons, at least until her unassuming criminal career came to an unassuming end. The 30-year-old teacher was recognised following an appearance on the UK TV show Come Dine With Me in 2015. Contestants on the show hold dinner parties and are ranked on their performance. Sophie was holding a party with a full moon beach party theme, and her guests had no idea they were having dinner with a notorious shoplifter. She was recognised by an ASDA worker because her face was plastered across the warning board in the supermarket. She would use the self-service scanners to scan items and then withdraw her card before a payment was processed. The police were called and they were informed that Hunter Brown was suffering from stress caused by her financial problems. She would retract these admissions at her Education Workforce Council hearing and claim that she didn't realise she hadn't been paying for her groceries during her spree, which lasted from April to July in 2014. Hunter Brown may have lost the job as a teacher after being exposed as a criminal, but she was able to get away with a reprimand. The disciplinary hearing chairman, Steve Powell, explained the decision by saying that there was no evidence that shoplifting had affected her ability to teach her pupils, adding that witnesses said she was a dedicated teacher. Number 4. Balloon Boy. The world was glued to their TV sets for one of the most bizarre news stories ever on October 15th, 2009. CNN afternoon anchor Kyra Phillips was reporting on a news story from the United States that had the potential to be disastrous. Somehow, someway, young 6-year-old Falcon Heen was supposedly flying through the air around 7,000 feet in a giant balloon shaped like a flying saucer. The saucer in question was apparently an early prototype the boy's parents put together as an alternative method of transportation. His parents, Richard and Mayumi Heen, claimed they had failed to tether the balloon to the ground, and it was an accident that it was able to get so high. Soon after, Falcon went missing. His brother claimed he saw the young boy climbing into the balloon basket before it took off. It didn't take long for the media frenzy to begin. CNN themselves promised to stay with the story until Falcon was safe. The emergency services rushed to the scene and chased the balloon until it finally descended into the fields around 12 miles northeast of Denver International Airport in Keansburg. There was just one small problem. Falcon wasn't in the balloon when the police managed to reach it. This raised several questions, including the issue of if Falcon had fallen from the balloon while it was in the air. These questions were answered when Falcon was found later in the garage of his family home in Fort Collins, and people started to suspect that the whole thing was a hoax. If it had been a hoax, after all, then the incident would have been treated as criminal investigation and the Heen family may have had the charges laid against them. It turned out that the event was a hoax after all. Falcon's parents were desperate to be famous and had tried to appear on several reality TV shows. Falcon himself accidentally confirmed the hoax during an appearance on Larry King Live. When he was asked why his family had claimed that he was hiding in the garage, he looked up to his father and said, "You guys said that we did this for the show." According to the affidavit, that law enforcement included in their application for a search warrant, Mayumi would admit that she knew Falcon was hiding in the house all along. Richard Heem was sentenced to 90 days in jail and 100 hours of community service on December the 23rd, 2009. Richard was also told to write a letter of apology to the emergency services who searched for his son. His mother, Mayumi, would be sentenced to 20 days in jail, which would be served through a jail-supervised community service for 2 days a week. The judge took some leniency on the couple, saying that they could serve their sentence one after the other to ensure the children had a parent present and were taken care of. Number 3. Man admits to arson. Everything was proceeding as normal when the news crew from local station WJLA-TV reached the scene of a house fire in Rockville, Maryland in 2014. The fire tore through the house so fiercely it was estimated to cause around $400,000 of property damage and rendered the property a total loss. Police and fire service would cordon the area off and residents flocked to the streets, terrified that the people who lived in the home might still be inside. Luckily, the house was empty at the time and nobody was hurt outside of the enormous damage to the property. At this early stage, it wasn't clear whether the fire was an accident or if it was an act of arson. That question would be answered when the news crew were approached by a man identifying himself as Carlos. Carlos talked to the news team and claimed that he was the one who started the fire. He calmly answered the questions, describing how and why he had started the fire. Carlos claimed that he poured gasoline on the floor, set it on fire, went to grab a drink, and then came back. As for the reason for the arson, he said that he did it to draw attention to the deplorable living conditions of the home. Carlos said that he tried to approach the matter with legal channels several times, but his words always fell on deaf ears. Carlos was approached the police after this, still followed by the news cameras, and confessed to them. The police arrested him and took him away. He would become less talkative during police questioning and asked for his attorney. A neighbour that witnessed the house on fire said they'd seen police frequent the house in the past and went on to say, "I'm just thinking about all the firefighters whose lives were put in jeopardy because of this. There's no excuse for it, none at all." Number 2. Juan CATALAN freed from jail after Curb Your Enthusiasm. We've taken a short break from people who were caught or exposed by TV appearance with the story of Juan CATALAN. One would actually be able to avoid a death sentence in the USA due to appearing in the background during an episode of hit HBO series Curb Your Enthusiasm. 16-year-old Martha Puebla would be tragically shot and killed outside of a Fernando Valley home on May the 12th, 2003. It was believed that the murder was done in retribution for Puebla testifying for a murder case involving CATALAN's brother. CATALAN himself argued that Puebla testified not against his brother, but against his brother's co-defendant. He claimed that the prosecutors were attempting to make this connection with him and that it didn't exist. Even so, the 24-year-old would be arrested after a month of the police questioning witnesses. Pueblo would be charged with one account of murder, with the special circumstances of lying in wait to murder a witness. CATALAN protested his innocence, of course, saying that he was at Dodger Stadium the night the murder happened, and that he had a ticket stub that could prove this. He begged to receive a lie detector test, but these requests would be denied 3 times. Things would change for the better for CATALAN during the first few months of his sentence, when he had a life-changing recollection that brought him closer to a happier outcome. He remembered that a film crew from HBO was shooting an episode of hit show Curb Your Enthusiasm near him. While the police had failed to find a recognisable image of him from the CCTV security footage at the stadium, they could potentially provide a clear enough image of him and prove his innocence and give a wrongly accused man back his freedom. CATALAN's lawyer sat in with Larry David himself to review the footage and spotted him in outtake footage from the show enjoying a hot dog with his daughter. The shots had a time code on them, which was enough to prove his alibi. A judge released Catalan from prison in January of 2004, citing that there was insufficient evidence to try him. Catalan would go on to file a lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles and the police force, winning $320,000 damages in the process. He is said to be a massive fan of Curb Your Enthusiasm these days and has managed to move on with his life and become a machinist in the family business. Number 1. Gunman confesses on live TV and hijacks a news van. There have been several occasions where the criminal will confess to the news crew that happens to be reporting on the crime. News crews might have even come to expect this now, but no one could have expected what happened to cameraman Peter Steer. Steer was flagged down by a barefooted, bearded man while on his way to cover a shooting in Queensland, Australia. What happened next would all be caught on camera by Steer himself. Things began simply enough, with the suspect breaking down and admitting that he shot a woman nearby. He said that he was going to give himself up to God and let Steer call the police to come and collect the man so he could turn himself in. The man stayed with Steer for over half an hour waiting for the police to arrive, even though he had told them it is extremely important. I have the man you're looking for. Perhaps the suspect thought that the police were taking too long, as he got more agitated and changed his mind. He jumped in the van, pointed his gun at Steer and drove away. What the suspect didn't know is that a dash cam in the van was recording everything as he sped towards a gas station and crashed into one of the propane tanks to cause a leak. A witness later stated the man noticed the gas leak and went around asking anyone he could find for a lighter. Luckily, the police arrived and arrested him before anything else could happen. The man was charged with armed robbery, attempted murder, unlawful possession of a weapon, dangerous operation of a motor vehicle, and unlawful damage. While there isn't much publicity known about the suspect, the entire incident can be found online thanks to the professionalism and bravery of Peter Steer.